Good afternoon, and welcome to Lauderdale Lead. We're glad you're here today. Every winter, somebody, I think it's USA Today or somebody, comes out with the 10 best beaches in the world. And it's always a fight between Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and several other ones, and one of them is Clearwater Beach. And Clearwater Beach beat Fort Lauderdale this year. I don't know how that happened. And I've never been to Clearwater Beach, so this past couple weeks ago, I had to go to Clearwater, so I went to the beach at Clearwater Beach. And has anybody been to Clearwater Beach? It's a great beach, isn't it? But it is nothing like the beaches we have here. And somehow, I don't get how Clearwater beats Fort Lauderdale, Pompano, Deerfield, Boca, Delray. We have incredible beaches here. And one of the things I do every morning, I go to the beach every morning. So 7 days a week, if it's not raining, I'm at the beach at sunrise to see it and to exercise and do other things. And it's nothing like over there to hear. I love South Florida. I love Broward County. I live in Boca Raton, but I went to high school. I was born in Broward County, went to high school in Pompano Beach, and so I love it here. And we're glad you're here. Some people are away on spring break. That's why there's a whole row of tables not there, but we're glad you're here today. If you have your sheets, open them up, and we're going to do some study today and looking at teams and how you can understand your people better. Now, as I talk about this, some of you are here first. What are we talking about? We're here to talk about business, but this also works with your family, with your nonprofit work, with coaching a team, whatever it may be. It does work in all these settings, but today I'm going to talk about business and look at this, understanding your people, and there are 8 things that I want to talk about today, and I've put them in a form of a statement, but you could put them in a form of a question. These are 8 factors or questions. You just change the I am to am I, important to people at work. Marcus Buckingham, and I don't know if you've ever read any of his work, does incredible work on strength finders and discovering your abilities and things like that, does a lot of work. His research team has put together, after years and years of study, the 8 most important things that people are looking for at work. And I want to talk about them today, look at them, and begin to discover some application towards them. So on your worksheet, you'll see there's a different way we're doing it, so you got to kind of follow, and it is too small to see it on this TV, so you're going to have to look on the big screens to really see it, because I wanted to make it on one sheet of paper, so you'll have to look at the big screens as well. But let's begin it. The first thing, and this is not in order yet, let's just kind of do it. The first thing is this: I am really enthusiastic about the mission of my company. And when I put company there, you could put your office, your place of work, if you're a nonprofit, your nonprofit, whatever it may be. The word company could be anything. I am really enthusiastic about the mission of my company. Or people could be asking, am I enthusiastic? I'm putting it in a positive way. You could put it as a question as well. That is very important to people, that they understand the mission and they're enthusiastic about the mission of their company. The second one is this: at work, I clearly understand what is expected of me. These are very closely related. I'm enthusiastic about the mission, and I clearly understand what is expected of me at work. This is important for people. So if you have people that work for you, they want to clearly understand it. That's the whole issue of clarity. I speak a lot about clarity, and one of the issues when I speak to people and I go, what do you do? Many times it's a very unclear thing. They'll say, well, I do this, and then I do that, and sometimes I do this, and sometimes I do that, and sometimes I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And you see that more and more than you should. So if you're a team leader and you have people working with you, direct reports, they need to clearly understand what they do, and you want them enthusiastic about what they're doing. It's quite obvious. Number 3, and I'm just going to kind of work through these 8, and then we're going to talk about them. Number 3, and it's on the right-hand side, so kind of follow me. I have a chance. Now, we're in a Presbyterian church, and they don't believe in chance in a Presbyterian church. So you can put the word opportunity. I have an opportunity to use my strengths every day at work. I have an opportunity to use my strengths every day at work. I used to work for a company, and those of you who are new don't know, I was 25 years in business before I became a pastor and started doing leadership training. I worked for a company where every day when I walked through the glass doors in front, I left half of my abilities at the door. I just left them there. And I told my boss, I said, I'm leaving half of my abilities at the door. You could use more. You're paying me, use me. And he said, no, I don't need those. I don't want those. And I left eventually because I was only using half of what I had. And even though I wasn't going to get paid more to use all that I had, I still wanted to use everything I had. Your people want to use what they have. So you need to understand what their strengths are and use those strengths because you'll get it. Now, let me ask you a question. How many of you are millennials in here? We got a few millennials in here. Okay, good. Now, that means the rest of you aren't, correct? Okay. I used to joke about millennials. They're entitled, they're this, they're that. I got 5 millennials, by the way, in my family, children. One's a year younger than millennial. There's a new generation coming up. They just announced. The Pew Foundation said they're not millennials or something else. But, so I have all these millennials, and I have millennials working for them. We all joke about how entitled millennials are and all the rest. Can I tell you this? I don't joke about millennials anymore. They are the hardest working people on my team. I have 130 people that work for me. The millennials are the hardest working when they know the mission of what they're doing, and they're enthusiastic about it, and they're using their strengths. They come the earliest. I have 4 that work directly for me in the next office over, one replaced over. They're here earlier than anyone. They stay later. They work harder because they get it. Now, millennials who don't believe in the mission, they don't. But can I tell you, baby boomers who don't believe in the mission don't either. And you guys in between don't either. You hide it better than millennials do, but you don't work either. This next generation is smarter than we were, have more energy than we have now, and can do a lot of things. And I tell you what, as we in my era, and I see a lot of people in my era, as we're turning over the keys of our organizations, people go, oh, I weep for the future. No, you should rejoice in the future because it's our responsibility to help younger people catch the vision and mission of what we're doing so that they can use their strengths to advance that mission, and they should be a part of that. And I celebrate all of you who are younger in what you are doing. Now, if you're not using your strengths and you're younger, there may be a time of learning that, and you may go, well, I need to maybe try this and try that. If you're my age and you're not using your strength, you should quit what you're doing and go find what it is. You are too old to mess around. And there's some point, and that's maybe 40, 35, where you start using your strengths. And we talked about that sweet spot area a few months ago. The next one, number 4. In my team, I am surrounded by people who share my values. In my team, I'm surrounded by people who share my values. That seems pretty simple, but some people work in a place where you feel that you have a set of values that are good and the team or the organization has a set of values that you don't like. You must be very careful with this. This is what happens. Can I tell you what happens? We have a gentleman here who's from Haiti, Mr. Yeah, right here. Yes, I knew his brother, by the way. I've been to his brother's home and stayed with his brother in Pignon. It's good to have you here. I was in Haiti once. I go every year. I was speaking in Haiti, and I was in a church building, and we were doing this whole training session, and there was a concrete platform like this, but it was all concrete, cement and everything, and in the middle of it was a 4x8 piece of plywood. And I didn't think anything of it, and I was being interpreted into Creole, and if you've ever seen someone being translated, an interpreter does exactly what you do. You put this hand up, they put this hand up. You put this hand, so that if you're watching the interpreter, it's identical. It's a brilliant job they do. So I'm walking here, and I realize I'm bigger than most Haitians. I walk across the plywood, and I realize there's nothing underneath the plywood. There's no superstructure under it, and I am going to fall in while I'm talking to a couple hundred people. So I step off quickly like this, and I mapped out in my mind while I was talking this 4x8 piece of plywood, and the entire talk, I never walked on it. Talking over here, then when I wanted to talk over here, I walked behind it. Nobody noticed it, and I stood over here and I started talking over here. And the whole talk went, and I never touched the piece of plywood because I mapped it out of my life. It was subconscious, and I was able to do it. Here's the problem with mapping. I'll tell you, I wasn't able to communicate with these two tables here. They weren't tables, they were chairs, but I couldn't because I couldn't walk here. I only stood over here and communicated here, and then I walked over here and communicated here, but I didn't communicate here. Why? Because I had mapped out the middle of the room. What we do in business and in relationships is we map out people. We map people out of our lives. I don't like you. I don't think you're doing a good job. I map out. So what do? I come to that person. I kind of work around them. I don't like that team. I kind of work around them. And we map in people we do like. Oh, I do like Mary Jo over there, so I map out. And so I'm always heading towards her office or whatever. It is very dangerous when you begin to map people and programs in and out of your business. It's called siloing. We silo so that we have you go do what you do, that's great, we'll meet once a month, you go do and I'll come help you. Be careful with that because you need to work with people you share values. And if you have a problem with someone, get it right. Figure it out, fix it, because you can't live with maps all around your office that you avoid. You know what I'm talking about, right? So be careful with that. Number 5. I know I will be recognized for excellent work. This is so important for people. And that doesn't necessarily mean huge bonuses. It could be a pizza after a good job. It could be something that you're recognizing, a text at the end of the day, that your people are going to be recognized for the work that they do. And let me tell you, and I've shared this many times before, don't discount a 3-sentence text. It is the most meaningful thing. When you text people, somehow people don't get their emails, they read them 3 days later, whatever, telephone calls are a thing of the past, all the rest. But when they get a text that is an encouragement, they're going to read it, whether it's 11 o'clock at night or 7 in the morning. And if it's an encouragement, you have blessed that person, you have helped that person, you have encouraged that person because of something they've done, and it is an incredible way to encourage people in their work. And don't discount. You go, what's a text? Every night before I go to bed or when kind of shut everything down, I'm texting 4, 5, 6 people thanking them for what occurred that day. Don't wait till tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to bring enough work, and you're going to forget to thank them. And then you're going to go, oh, I can't thank them. That was 4 days ago. And then you didn't thank them. It's never too late, but just do a text. Do whatever you want. Personal is good, too, however you want to do it. Number 6, my teammates have my back. My teammates have my back. So important that you work with people you can trust, you can respect, and we've done a lot of talking about this. Number 7, in my work, I always am challenged to grow. I feel a sense of growth and challenge in what I'm doing. This is very important. I run a school as well, as there's a school here. School teachers, I love school teachers because they do incredible things, but there's two types of school teachers. There's the type who teaches, because they teach the same grade mostly, right? There's the type who is a first grade teacher who's been teaching 20 times and they're still only a one-year teacher. Do you know what I'm talking? They're 1 year, but they do it 20 times, 20 years over, but they're a one-year teacher. And they'll go, because schools have all these hierarchical things, you go, she's got 20 years of experience. And I'll go, no, she has 1 year of experience repeated 20 times. And then you'll get someone else who's a first or second grade teacher, and they're in it for 2 years, and they've grown. And you go, wow, they're double what they were when they came here. They're triple what they were because they've been challenged to grow. And just because someone's tenured in your company for 5, 10, 15, 20 years doesn't mean they have 5, 10, 15, 20 years of experience. It just means they have clocked in that long. You need to challenge people to continue to grow. And those of you who are younger need to be growing. Those of you who are in your middle and older careers, you need to continue to grow and be a lifelong learner. You cannot stop learning, because the minute you stop learning, you become irrelevant. That is just so true. You become irrelevant. Everything changes. Think about how your business was run 10 years ago, 5 years ago. You cannot run it the same way. Just the technology to run it is different. You ever watch an old TV show? And you realize, you look at the telephone from 10 years ago, you look at the computer screen that's on the desk 10 years ago, you go, oh, that's archaic. Of course it is. But people are still trying to run their lives, their businesses on things from 10 years ago. Keep learning. And then finally, I have great confidence in my company's future. I have great confidence in my company. Again, it could be whatever your organization is, your nonprofit, whatever, in their future. Great example, Sports Authority. You know, Sports Authority started in Fort Lauderdale, in Lauderdale on 441. Could it be a worse location? They took over an old Winn-Dixie Plaza, and I was their realtor. I did their real estate in the very beginning. When I would go into their corporate offices, there was an amazing feel of the future. Sports Authority had the sports retail world by the tail, and they were grabbing hold of it and pulling up the chain, and they were incredible. Just to walk into their offices was an experience. It was an unbelievable experience. Fast forward 25 years later, walk into a Sports Authority a year ago, it was a pretty nasty place, wasn't it? You ever go to the Sports Authorities before they closed? No confidence. The employees were terrible. Why? Because they knew their future was up in 3 months. The future was not bright. They knew it, and they acted that way. I don't go to Toys R Us, but I can imagine what it's like in Toys R Us today. There is no future there. How do you act in your company with your employees as to the future? And there are people, and I'm one of them, that are very cost conscious. If we're always so cost conscious that we're saying, we're about to close the doors if we don't make payroll next month, and all this, people lose confidence in what you're doing. You must build confidence in people, in your company, in your vision, in your mission, and what's expected of them, using their strengths. They all work together. Now, let's work around our tables for a minute. And here's 8. There's many more, so let's just work with these 8. Which one of these 8? And I'll ask you to pick 2. Every one of you, just pick 2 of these that resonates with you, that you go, yeah, that's me. Pick 2 of them. Just take a minute to do that, and then share it around your table. You can't say why, because that would take too long. Just go, I really love to be recognized for excellent work, or I really love to know the future of our business. Do that right now around your tables, just 2 or 3 minutes, and share it with everybody at your table. Go ahead and So, purpose. One more minute. One more minute. Okay, bring your attention up here. Let me ask a couple of questions about this, so be prepared to raise your hand. In this row, who had one of these two? Raise your hand. Good, okay. How about the second row? Who had one of those? Excellent. Third row. Good. Fourth row. Wow, great. Okay. Now, before I go on, who had both of yours on the left side? Raise your hand, real high. Okay, good. Who had both of yours on the right side? Raise your hand. Okay, so now let's look at these. If you look at the first two on this row, it has to do with purpose. Purpose. I'm enthusiastic about the mission. I clearly understand what is expected of me. If you're one of those, purpose is important to you. You can use the word vision, mission, objective, strategic, but purpose is important to you. If you're in the second row with one of yours or both of yours, excellence is important. I'm surrounded by people who share my values. I have a chance to use my strengths. This is important. You value excellence at work. If you're in the third one here, it's support. My teammates have my back. I know I will be recognized for my excellent work. I am being supported by my team. I'm being supported by my company. So support is very important for you. And the last one is the future. I have confidence in my company's future. I am always challenged to grow. That's a future thing. I'm challenged to grow. Now, so we see these: purpose, excellence, support, and future. Now, these two columns speak of something. The first column, do you have the first one, is we. This is the corporate side. So those of you that only had it on the left side, we're thinking in terms of group, team, the company, the entirety of it. I'm enthusiastic about the company, in my team, my teammates. I am confident in the future of my company. This is important. The second side, though, if you're on that, is the me side, me. And I'm not talking about narcissistic me, but just the me side of it. At work, I clearly, all the I's, I have a chance. I know I will be recognized. In my work, I am always challenged. There's a me side to this, and there's a we side to this. And I think it's important that you as leaders understand both. Now, you can fall where you want and you work at it, but to understand your employees, your people that work for you, both are important. So, how do you pull this out into people, from people? How do you understand it? And I want to give you 2 ways to integrate this with your people. So down below, you see their leaders integrate these in 2 ways. And I'll put it in the form of a question or a statement as well. Number 1, make me feel part of something bigger than me. The me is the employee, the worker. You have to take the person who is me-oriented and make them feel and be a part of the bigger. Make me feel part of something bigger than me. Get them into the universal, the vision, the mission, the purpose, the shared sense of meaning of why you do at your company what you do. It's got to be bigger than them, and it's got to be bigger than you. I've shared this many times. I'm a big fan of 4 Kids of South Florida. They take a table here. Is anybody here from there today? There you are. Okay, good. Okay. Do you know what their universal is, their vision is? A home for every child in South Florida. Now, is that bigger than me? I can provide a home for 5 kids, which I do. They want a home for every child. That is the universal. That is huge. I tell you what, if you want to get people thinking outside of themselves, get them into some organization and go, we as a business are going to help another organization to get us stop thinking about ourselves 100% of the time. Get to the big. You got to get people thinking bigger. And in your company, you got to get people thinking bigger. Just as a side, we're 30 days plus 1 from Parkland. Can you imagine if that young man had been in a loving, caring home with 4 kids 5 years ago, 6 years ago as he was growing up? Things would be a little different, wouldn't it? We can see the vision of what they're trying to do and what they're doing, and you go, I wish we could do that for thousands of kids instead of hundreds of kids. Why? Because it's bigger than us, and we can do things together that we can't do alone. You and your company can do things together that you can't do alone. The second statement that is important, make me feel, again, the me is the employee, make me feel that what I do is the most important thing to the company. My father instilled in me as a kid, now most of you don't know me, I grew up on the right side of the tracks. I grew up with 2 parents. I grew up upper middle class, which means I grew up in upper class, the rest of the world. I grew up on the intercoastal, living, I'm not saying that for any other reason except that I was given more than most. My father said, you just need to understand you are not better than anyone else. And he started taking me to jails, to brothels. I mean, it was unbelievable. He'd probably get arrested nowadays for doing what he did. He took me to East Germany and said, you got to see what communism is about. He took me all over the world to show me what the real world was about, because he says, you don't live in the real world. You are growing up in Disney World. And you got to realize that every single person has value. And don't ever think, because you can go to the college of your choice and all these other things, that you are more valuable than anyone else. And I appreciate that my dad did that, and I believe part of the things that I do nowadays is because of that. So let me give you an example. We have a church. We had this big youth thing a weekend about 3 weeks ago, and I was talking to our youth pastor, 500 high schoolers. Now, we had never done that before. We've always had 150 at it. He goes, we want to have 500 this year. So we had 500 high schoolers on our campus for a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. He said these words. I said, Jody, how can I help you? He goes, the most important thing is trash removal. I go, what? He goes, the most important thing, because we've got to empty the dumpster on a Saturday afternoon because we're going to fill it with 500 kids. And Saturday afternoon is not what he goes, if you can get them to, and so I got my housekeeping and facilities team. I said, guys, you are the cornerstone of 500 kids' success. And built it. And at the end of the weekend, he came to me, and all these kids' lives were changing. It was right after Stoneman Douglas, so they're all very tender, and it was a wonderful time. He came to me, and he didn't say the speaker was the best and all the counselors were great. He said the facilities team did a great job. You know what? They're making $12 an hour. And he said that was the critical thing. Why? Because everybody is important. Everyone is important. And we need to understand that as leaders, that it's all the way up and down. Now, 2 questions you can ask as we close this out. 2 questions you can ask to your direct reports. One is this: what are your priorities this week? A very simple question. What are your priorities this week? What is it that you're supposed to do? And then if you're the boss of them, you see if it's the right priorities, you work through it. That is going after the me. What are you supposed to be doing this week? Okay, and let's walk through it. Oh, good, okay, that's the me. But the we part of it is, and how can I help you? And if you're their boss, you're the company, you're representative, how can we help you accomplish it? The me is helped by the we. And if the me is helped by the me helps the we. It's a circle. We help each other. 2 very simple questions. Now let me close. Our time is up. I've been carrying around a Starbucks cup. It doesn't matter that it's Starbucks, but a coffee cup around. And you have to know I don't drink coffee. I've never had a cup of coffee in my life. It's not a religious thing. I've never had a cup. Now, I go to places around the world like Haiti, and they give you coffee, and you have to take that first sip because you have to be gracious when you're in people's homes all over the world. So I'll take a little sip, but I've never had a full cup of American coffee in my life. So 8 years ago, I'm going to a wedding of my nephew in Portland, Oregon. Why do I want to go to Portland? But I did, and our family. And it turns out one of our cousins owns a coffee shop in Vancouver, and we were going to spend a week up in Vancouver after this wedding. And I never thought anything. I mean, all our cousins own businesses. I never thought a coffee shop was any different than anything else, but I didn't realize it was an elite coffee shop. I studied it. He's in the top 10 coffee shops in the Western Hemisphere. He's in and out of it. Sometimes he's 11. I mean, these guys are different. They live in a different world, and I've never had a cup of coffee, so I don't really care. So this is what he said. He said, Bill, we were coming out a few days early to Portland, fly into Seattle, drive down to Portland. He goes, Bill, while we're in Seattle, I'm going to take you on a coffee crawl. Now, I have no idea what a coffee crawl is, but I learned very quickly. He said, I'm going to take you to 3 or 4 of the best coffee shops, my competitors, in the world. Best coffee in the world. And so I thought I'd enter into his joy. And so I said, great, let's do it. And so we did it. And so for a whole day, we're going, and I'm drinking all these triple espresso whatevers and all this stuff. And for a guy who doesn't drink coffee, it shut my body down. without getting too graphic, from here down, I was shut down, and from here up, I was shut down. I thought, how am I going to get to this wedding and all the rest? I mean, my body was down. Got to the wedding, and then this is the funny thing. We're going up to Vancouver where his coffee shop is. Now he has two, and he goes, I'm going to give you a debit card because you're going to be there a week, and every one of your kids is going to get one, and you can buy anything in my coffee shop you want. Just show them the card. So the first day I'm there, I'm getting the Eggs Benedict and the croissants and these incredible to die for fruit things and all this great stuff, and drinking OJ. And everybody's looking at me going, what is he doing? You're in the best coffee shop in the world, and you're drinking orange juice. So I went to the barista and I said to her, I said, would you put my orange juice in a coffee cup? So the rest of the week, I was walking around, how you doing? Good to see you, and drinking my orange juice and enjoying the Eggs Benedict and the croissants and everything else. And at the end of the week, I said, Terry, why do you sell all these Eggs Benedict and these incredible pastries? He said, because I want people to come here and drink coffee, because I have the best coffee in the world. And I opened my cup and said, I'm drinking orange juice. What is the point of that? All of us look like good workers. We all look like good employees. We all look like good corporate people. But the reality is this, that some of us are not, that we are imposters, that we have all the outward looking of being a great person at work, and in reality, we are not. And my suggestion to you is drink the coffee of your company, and the aroma of the coffee will come out and will draw other people in. There is no aroma in orange juice. It's the coffee aroma that brings people in. And that will help make your company, your business, your nonprofit a great place to work in. Thank you.